Commander Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, staring at the endless black of space through the main viewing screen. The USS Vanguard had been patrolling the outer edge of human space for 3 months now. It was quiet work, but someone had to watch the borders. Jake had been doing this job for 5 years, and he knew how important it was to keep Earth safe. The bridge was calm. His crew worked at their stations, checking sensors and running routine scans. Jake liked the quiet. It meant everything was normal. But that quiet was about to end. "Commander," called out Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the communications station. "I'm picking up something strange. It's not one of our ships." Jake turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" "It's an encrypted signal, sir. But it's not using any human codes. The computer is trying to decode it now." Jake stood up and walked over to Sarah's station. The young officer had been with his crew for 2 years. She was good at her job and never got excited about nothing. If she said something was strange, it was worth checking. "How far away is the signal coming from?" Jake asked. "Very far, sir. The computer says it's from the Kepler 442 system. That's over 200 light years from here." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Nothing human had ever gone that far into space. If someone was sending signals from there, it meant they had found aliens. Real aliens. "Sir," Sarah said, her voice getting excited, "the computer has broken. The code, the signal is a distress call." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The viewing screen changed from the star field to show lines of text. But these were not human words. The computer had translated them into English, but Jake could tell the original message had been written by someone very different from humans. The message read, "To any who receive this call, we are the Zelani Federation. Our worlds are under attack. The Kronak Empire has come to destroy us. We are a peaceful people with no weapons of war. Our cities burn and our people die. We have heard stories of other species in the galaxy. If you exist, please help us. We do not have much time." Jake read the message twice. His hands were shaking. This was first contact with aliens, and they were asking for help. He looked around the bridge. His crew had all stopped working to read the message. They looked scared and excited at the same time. "Sarah, can you tell how old this message is?" "Yes, sir. It was sent 3 days ago. But because of the distance, it took that long to reach us." Jake nodded. 3 days. These aliens had been under attack for 3 days already. If they were still alive, they needed help fast. "Get me Admiral Carter on Mars," Jake ordered. "Priority 1 communication." "Yes, sir." While Sarah worked to connect him to Earth's Defense Fleet headquarters, Jake read the message again. The Zelani called themselves peaceful people. That meant they probably had no army, no weapons, no way to fight back. And this Kronak Empire was trying to kill them all. Jake had never heard of either species before. But the message made it clear that the Kronak were the bad guys. They were attacking innocent people who just wanted to live in peace. That was something Jake could not stand. "Sir, I have Admiral Carter on the line." Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on the screen. She was a tough woman in her 50s who had worked her way up from being a simple pilot to running Earth's entire space fleet. Jake had served under her before and knew she was smart and fair. "Commander Morrison," she said, "what's so important that you're using Priority 1? "Admiral, we've received a distress call from aliens." Carter's face went very still. "Say that again." "We've received a distress call from aliens, ma'am. They're asking for help. They're under attack by another alien species." Jake sent her a copy of the message. He watched her face as she read it. Her expression got harder with each line. "How far away are they?" she asked. 200 light years, ma'am. The Kepler 442 system. Carter was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see her thinking. This was the biggest decision in human history. First contact with aliens, and they were asking Earth for help in a war. Commander, I want you to plot a course for the Kepler system. Don't go there yet, but be ready. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. We need to decide what to do. Yes, ma'am. What should I tell my crew? Tell them the truth. Tell them that today, humanity learned we're not alone in the universe. And tell them that somewhere out there, innocent people are dying while we decide what to do about it. The connection ended. Jake stood in the quiet of his bridge. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. These were good people. All of them. They had joined the Earth Defense Fleet to protect their home and their families. But now they might be asked to travel farther from home than any human had ever gone, to fight in a war that wasn't theirs. Jake looked at the message one more time. He thought about the Zelani, whoever they were. They had sent their call for help into the dark, hoping someone would hear them. Someone had heard them. The question now was, what would humanity do about it? All stations, prepare for possible long-range deployment, Jake announced. And someone get me everything we have on the Kepler 442 system. We might be going there soon. As his crew got to work, Jake sat back down in his command chair. He had a feeling that this quiet patrol was about to become something much bigger, something that would change everything for humanity. And somewhere, 200 light years away, aliens were waiting to see if help would come. Admiral Lisa Carter stood at the head of the conference table in the Defense Council chamber on Mars. Around her sat the 12 most powerful people in human space. These were the leaders who made decisions about war and peace for all of humanity. Today, they had to make the biggest decision in human history. The message is real, Carter began. Our experts have checked it 3 times. The Zelani Federation is under attack by something called the Kronok Empire. They're asking for help. General Robert Kane, head of the Marine Corps, leaned forward. 200 light years is a long way to go for people we've never met. How do we even know they're telling the truth? Because they're dying, Carter replied. Our long-range sensors picked up energy signatures from the Kepler system. Big explosions, weapons fire, cities burning. Someone is having a war over there. Director Michelle Torres from Earth Intelligence spoke up. What do we know about these Kronok? Not much, Carter admitted. But the Zelani message gives us some clues. They call them an empire, which means they've conquered other worlds before. They attack peaceful people who can't fight back. That tells us what kind of enemy we're dealing with. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone was thinking about the same thing. If they decided to help, they would be starting humanity's first war with aliens. If they decided not to help, they would be letting innocent people die. What kind of force would we need to send? Asked Senator Paul Davis, the civilian representative on the council. Carter pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed ships, numbers, and battle plans. Everything we have, she said. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. I'm talking about the largest battle fleet in human history. 150 ships, 50,000 Marines and pilots. It would take every major warship we have. General Kane whistled. That's a lot of firepower. But what if we lose? What if these Kronok are stronger than us? Then we'll find out what humans are really made of, Carter replied. But I don't think we'll lose. We've been preparing for this day since we first reached the stars. We've built our fleet to fight wars in space. This is what we trained for. The debate went on for hours. Some council members worried about leaving Earth undefended. Others worried about the cost. A few wondered if they should try to negotiate with the Kronok instead of fighting them. But in the end, it came down to a simple question. When innocent people called for help, What kind of species did humanity want to be? The vote was unanimous. Earth would send its fleet to help the Zel A and I Dot within hours. The largest military operation in human history began. At the orbital shipyards around Earth, Mars, and the Moon, crews worked around the clock to prepare the fleet. Ships that had been in maintenance were rushed back to service. Weapons were loaded. Supplies were packed. Captain Ryan Brooks got the call while he was having dinner with his family. He was the commander of the USS Liberty, the biggest warship humanity had ever built. The ship was so large it had its own factories, hospitals, and living quarters for 10,000 people. "I have to go," he told his wife and 2 children. "I don't know when I'll be back." His wife, Maria, knew better than to ask questions. She had been married to a military man for 15 years. She knew that look on his face. This was something big. "Be careful," she said, kissing him goodbye. "Come home to us." "I will," Ryan promised. But as he looked at his family, he wondered if he was telling the truth. Where he was going, no human had ever been before. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was training her Marines when the orders came through. She was a small woman, but tough as steel. Her soldiers respected her because she never asked them to do anything she wouldn't do herself. "Listen up," she told her troops. "We're going to war, not against other humans, but against aliens. They're called the Kronuk, and they like to kill peaceful people. We're going to stop them." Her Marines looked excited and nervous at the same time. They had trained for years to fight in space, on planets, and in zero gravity. But they had never expected to fight aliens. "Will they be stronger than us?" asked Private Tony Miller, a young man from Texas. "Maybe," Amy replied, "but they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. And that's going to be their mistake." Wing Commander Steve Taylor was checking his fighters when the alert came through. He was one of the best pilots in the fleet, and he commanded a squadron of the most advanced fighters ever built. His ships were fast, deadly, and nearly invisible to enemy sensors. "How many pilots do we have?" he asked his second-in-command. 500, sir." All volunteers. When word got out that we were going to fight aliens, everyone wanted to come. Steve nodded. That was good. In a fight this big, they would need pilots who wanted to be there. Commander Helen Wade was already working on battle plans. She was the fleet's chief strategist, and her job was to figure out how to win the war. She had studied every battle in human history, from ancient times to the present day. Now she had to figure out how to fight enemies she had never seen. "What do we know about Kronuk tactics?" she asked her team. "Not much," replied her assistant. But based on the Zelani message, they seemed to rely on overwhelming force. "They'd probably have bigger ships and more firepower than us. Then we'll have to be smarter," Helen said. "Humans have always been good at that. We'll use speed, surprise, and teamwork. We'll hit them where they don't expect it." The fleet gathered at the edge of human space. 147 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to tiny scouts. It was a sight that no human had ever seen before. The combined firepower of the entire human race, ready to jump into hyperspace and travel farther from Earth than anyone had ever gone. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, looking out at her fleet. These were the best ships and the best people humanity had to offer. In a few hours, they would enter hyperspace and begin the 2-week journey to the Kepler system. "All ships report ready for jump," announced the communications officer. Carter nodded. "Signal the fleet. We jump in 60 seconds. She opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Carter. Today, we make history. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. We don't start wars, but we sure as hell finish them. We don't abandon our friends, even if we've never met them. And we don't let bullies win. The countdown began. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Space twisted around them as the fleet entered hyperspace. When the stars returned to normal, they were no longer in human space. They were traveling through the void between galaxies, racing toward a war that would determine humanity's place in the universe. The journey would take 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prepare for battle. 2 weeks to get ready to face an enemy they had never seen. 2 weeks to prove that when Earth's children went to war, they brought hell with them. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. What they saw made everyone stop and stare. The 3 planets that belonged to the Zelani Federation were surrounded by hundreds of alien ships. Even from this distance, they could see the fires burning on the planet's surfaces. "My God," whispered Captain Ryan Brooks from the bridge of the USS Liberty. "They're destroying everything." Admiral Carter stood beside him, watching the tactical display. The computer was counting enemy ships, and the numbers kept growing. 412 Chronoc vessels, from small fighters to massive battleships. They had the Zelani worlds completely surrounded. "Get me a damage report on those planets," Carter ordered. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, who had been transferred to the flagship, worked at her station. "Admiral, the sensors are showing massive destruction. Whole cities are gone. The Chronoc have been bombing them for days." Carter felt anger building inside her. This wasn't war. This was murder. The Chronoc were killing innocent people who had no way to fight back. "Admiral," called out Commander Helen Wade from the strategy station, "I'm detecting Chronoc patrol ships heading our way. They've seen us." "How many?" 12 ships moving fast. "They'll be here in 20 minutes. Carter nodded. "Signal the fleet. Battle stations. This is it, people. Time to show these aliens what happens when they mess with the wrong species." The first battle was about to begin. The human fleet spread out into attack formation. The USS Liberty and the other big ships stayed in the center, while the smaller destroyers and fighters moved out to the sides. It was a formation that had worked in 1,000 simulations, but this was the first time. They would use it against real enemies. Lieutenant Maya Foster sat in her fighter, waiting for the order to launch. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet, and she had been chosen for the first reconnaissance mission. Her job was to get close to the Chronoc ships and learn everything she could about them. "Foster, you ready?" asked Wing Commander Steve Taylor over the radio. "Ready as I'll ever be, sir." "Time to see what these aliens are made of." The Chronoc patrol ships came into view. They were ugly things, covered in spikes and armor plates. They looked like they had been built for one purpose, to destroy other ships. But they were also big and slow, nothing like the sleek human vessels. "All fighters, launch," ordered Taylor. Maya's fighter shot out of the USS Liberty's hangar bay, along with 50 others. The human fighters were fast and hard to see on sensors. They moved like a swarm of angry bees, darting between the larger ships. The Chronoc ships opened fire first. Their weapons were powerful, but they were designed to hit big, slow targets. The human fighters were too fast and too small. The alien beams missed by hundreds of meters. "Their weapons are strong, but not very accurate," Maya reported. "They're having trouble tracking us." "Copy that," replied Taylor. "All fighters, attack. Pattern Delta. Let's show them how we do things." The human fighters attacked from all sides at once. They came in fast, fired their missiles, and then darted away before the Chronoc could respond. It was like watching a pack of wolves attack a herd of buffalo. The first Chronoc ship exploded in a ball of fire, then another. The aliens had never faced anything like this before. They were used to fighting enemies that came at them head-on, in straight lines. The human tactics confused and frightened them. "This is impossible," said the Chronoc commander over the radio. The humans had learned to decode their language during the journey. How can such small ships cause so much damage? Because we're not small, Maya said, even though the alien couldn't hear her. We're fast. Within 10 minutes, all 12 Kronak patrol ships were destroyed. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. It was the most one-sided battle in the history of warfare. Well, said Admiral Carter, that was almost too easy. But Captain Brooks was looking at the tactical display with worry. Admiral, the main Kronak fleet is moving. They're coming to investigate. Carter looked at the screen. The enemy fleet was huge, much bigger than the human force. But she was not worried. The first battle had taught her something important about the Kronak. They were strong, but they were not smart. All ships, prepare for main battle, she ordered. Time to see if these aliens can learn from their mistakes. The Kronak fleet came toward them in a tight formation. Every ship was in a straight line, like soldiers marching in parade. It was impressive to look at, but it was also stupid. When ships flew so close together, one good hit could damage several vessels at once. They're doing exactly what I hoped they would do, said Commander Wade. They're flying like they're still fighting wars from 1,000 years ago. The human fleet spread out wide, making themselves a harder target to hit. The destroyers moved to the sides, while the fighters got ready for another attack. The big ships stayed in the back, their long-range weapons ready to fire. Message coming in from the Kronak fleet, reported Sarah Kim. They want to talk. Put it on screen, Carter ordered. The alien who appeared on the screen was terrifying. It was twice the size of a human, with thick armor plating covering its body. Its eyes were small and mean, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. This was clearly a species that had evolved to be killers. I am War Chief Thrakus of the Kronak Empire, the alien said in a voice like grinding metal. You will surrender now or be destroyed. We have conquered 100 worlds. We will conquer yours. 2. Admiral Carter stepped forward. I am Admiral Lisa Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. You will stop your attack on the Zelani worlds and surrender, or we will destroy you. Thrakus laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You have 47 ships. We have over 400. Your mathematics are poor, human. Our mathematics are just fine, Carter replied. We know exactly how many ships you have. What you don't know is what our ships can do. The connection ended. Both fleets prepared for battle. All ships, attack. Pattern Omega, Carter ordered. Let's show them what Earth's children are made of. The human fleet attacked from 3 directions at once. The fighters came in low and fast, targeting the Kronak command ships. The destroyers hit the sides of the enemy formation, while the big ships stayed back and fired their heavy weapons. The Kronak return fire was massive and powerful. Space lit up with energy beams and explosions, but most of their shots missed. The human ships were too fast and too spread out. The aliens were used to fighting enemies that stayed in one place and traded shots. They had never faced an enemy that moved like this. Direct hit on Kronak battleship, reported the weapons officer. It's breaking apart. 2 more going down. Added another voice. Their shields can't handle our concentrated fire. The battle was going better than anyone had hoped. The human tactics were working perfectly. The Kronak were strong, but they were slow and predictable. They fought like robots, following the same patterns over and over. But then something changed. The Kronak ships began to move differently. Instead of staying in formation, they spread out and started attacking individually. They were learning. Admiral, said Commander Wade, they're adapting to our tactics. This is going to get harder. Carter nodded. Then we adapt too. Signal the fleet. Switch to pattern Gamma. Time to show them that humans don't just have one way of fighting. The battle continued for hours. Both sides took losses, but the humans were winning. For every human ship that was destroyed, 3 Chronoc vessels were blown apart. The aliens were learning, but they were learning too slowly. As the sun set over the Zelani homeworld, the survivors of the Chronoc fleet began to retreat. They had never faced an enemy like this before, and they were scared. "They're running," said Captain Brooks. "Let them run," Carter replied. "But not too far. We're not done with them yet." The first major battle was over. Humanity had won. But the war was just beginning. The Chronoc fleet had retreated to the far side of the Kepler system, but they were not giving up. War Chief Thrakus was angry and confused. In all his years of conquest, he had never lost a battle. His ships were bigger and stronger than the human vessels. His weapons were more powerful. But somehow, these strange new aliens were winning. How is this possible? He demanded from his bridge. "We have the superior force. We have the better weapons. Why are we losing?" His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Krug, shook his massive head. "They fight like nothing we have ever seen, War Chief. They do not stand and battle as honorable warriors should. They dart around like insects, striking and running." "Away!" Thrakus slammed his fist on the command console. "Insects can be crushed. Signal the fleet. We will group all our ships together and attack as one. Let them try to run from 400 ships attacking at once." Meanwhile, on the human side, Admiral Carter was planning her next move. The first battle had been successful, but she knew the real fight was just beginning. The Chronocs still had more ships, and they were learning from their mistakes. "What's the status of the Zelani worlds?" she asked Commander Wade. "Not good, Admiral. The Chronoc have been bombing them for weeks. Millions of civilians are dead, and the survivors are hiding in underground shelters. If we don't end this soon, there won't be anyone left to save." Carter nodded grimly. "Then we finish it. What's your assessment of Chronoc tactics?" "They're adapting, but slowly. They're still thinking like a traditional military force. They want to mass their ships and overwhelm us with firepower. But they don't understand modern space warfare. They're fighting like it's still the old days." Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez spoke up from the Marine section. "Admiral, my scouts have identified several Chronoc ground bases on the outer planets. They're using them to coordinate their attacks. If we could take out their command centers." "Do it," Carter said immediately. "Take your best Marines and hit those bases. Cut off their communications and make them fight blind." Amy grinned. "Yes, ma'am. It's time to show these aliens what human Marines can do." The Marine assault began. At dawn, 24 human dropships launched from the fleet, each carrying 30 of Earth's finest soldiers. The ships were designed to be fast and hard to detect, but the Chronocs spotted them anyway. "Enemy fighters incoming," reported the pilot. "Of Amy's ship. Looks like they want to play." "Then let's play," Amy replied. She switched to the Marine frequency. "All squads, prepare for hot landing. We're going in under fire." The human dropships twisted and turned through space, dodging Chronoc energy beams. The alien fighters were fast, but they were not as agile as the human ships. The Marines' dropships had been designed for exactly this kind of mission. Major Chris Sullivan commanded the second wave of Marines. His job was to assault the main Chronoc command base, while Amy's troops hit the smaller outposts. As his ship dove toward the planet's surface, he could see the alien base spread out below him. "Look at that thing," said Sergeant Lisa Murphy, his squad leader. "It's huge. Must be 1,000 aliens down there." Chris checked his weapons one more time. "Then we'd better make sure we kill them all." The first human Marines hit the ground running. Their power armor made them faster and stronger than any normal human, but it also made them nearly invincible. The Chronoc ground forces had never seen anything like it. The aliens were big and strong, but they were also slow. Their weapons were powerful, but they took time to aim and fire. The human Marines moved like lightning, striking from multiple directions at once. "Contact front," shouted Private Danny Walsh as he saw the first Chronoc soldiers. "They're big, but they're not that tough." The aliens fought bravely, but they were completely outmatched. The human tactics were too advanced, and their equipment was too good. Within an hour, the first Chronoc base was overrun. Amy's voice came over the radio. "Base Alpha is secure. No human casualties. These aliens don't know how to fight soldiers. Who can think for themselves?" Back in space, the main battle was about to begin again. The Chronoc had gathered their entire fleet into one massive formation. It was an impressive sight, but it was also exactly what the humans had been hoping for. "They're doing it again," said Commander Wade with satisfaction. "They're bunching up their ships. One good hit, and we can damage dozens of vessels at once." "Admiral," Carter smiled, "signal the fleet. Prepare for Operation Hammer. Time to show these aliens what happens when you give humans a target they can't miss." The human fleet spread out in a wide circle around the Chronoc formation. The aliens were trapped in the center, surrounded by enemies on all sides. It was the perfect setup for what the humans had planned. "All ships, fire on my command," Carter ordered. "Target their command ships first. Cut off the head, and the body will die." The human fleet opened fire all at once. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams converged on the Chronoc formation from every direction. The aliens had nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The first Chronoc command ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. The alien fleet was in chaos, as their leaders were killed one by one. Without clear orders, the Chronoc ships began to scatter and fight individually. "It's working," reported Captain Brooks. "They're breaking formation. Their coordination is falling apart." Lieutenant Maya Foster was leading a squadron of fighters through the chaos. Her job was to hunt down the surviving Chronoc commanders and eliminate them. It was dangerous work, but she was the best pilot in the fleet. "Foster to control," she reported. "I've got eyes on the enemy flagship. It's trying to escape to the outer system." "Negative," replied Wing Commander Taylor. "Do not engage alone. That ship is too heavily armed." "Copy that," Maya said, but she had no intention of obeying that order. The Chronoc flagship was the key to winning this battle. If she could take it out, the war would be over. Maya's fighter dove a massive alien ship. The Chronoc had built their flagship to be a fortress, with thick armor and powerful weapons. But they had not built it to fight an enemy that could get inside their defenses. The alien ship fired everything it had at the tiny human fighter. Energy beams lit up space around Maya's ship, but she was too fast and too skilled. She weaved through the defensive fire like a dancer, getting closer with each second. "This is for the Zelani," she said, and fired her missiles at point-blank range. The explosion was massive. The Chronoc flagship, the pride of their fleet, broke apart and died in space. With it died War Chief Thrakus and his entire command staff. The remaining Chronoc ships stopped fighting. Without their leaders, they had no idea what to do. Some tried to run, but the human fleet was surrounding them on all sides. Others simply stopped moving, waiting for orders that would never come. "This is Admiral Carter to all Chronoc vessels," the human commander broadcasted. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your leaders are dead. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed." The response came quickly. "We surrender," said a Chronoc voice. "Please, no more killing." "We surrender." The battle was over. The humans had won. But as Admiral Carter looked at the burning wrecks of alien ships floating in space, she felt no joy. War was never something to celebrate, even when you won. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. stand down from battle stations, send medical ships to help the wounded, both human and Chronok, and get me a communication link to the Zilani homeworld. I think it's time we properly introduced ourselves. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity had won their first battle against aliens, but now they had to win the peace. The first face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens took place on the USS Liberty 3 days after the battle ended. Ambassador Kella of the Zilani Federation was small and delicate, with blue skin and large, gentle eyes. She looked nothing like the fierce Chronok warriors, and Admiral Carter could see why they had been helpless against the invasion. On behalf of all Zilani people, I thank you, Kella said in perfect English. Her species had learned human languages. By studying Earth's radio signals, we sent our call for help into the darkness, not knowing if anyone would answer. You not only answered, you came with the power to save us all. Carter sat across from the alien ambassador in the ship's conference room. Also present were Captain Brooks, Commander Wade, and several other senior officers. This was history in the making, and everyone knew it. We're just glad we could help, Carter replied. But I have to ask, why didn't you have any weapons? Any way to defend yourselves? Kella looked sad. We gave up warfare 3,000 years ago. We decided that violence was not the way to solve problems. We focused on science, medicine, and art instead. We thought we were safe because we never bothered anyone else. That's a beautiful philosophy, said Captain Brooks. But unfortunately, the galaxy isn't always a safe place. There are predators out there, like the Chronok. We understand that now. Kala nodded. The question is, what do we do about it? The Chronok Empire still exists. They have fleets on hundreds of worlds. What's to stop them from coming back when you leave? Carter had been thinking about this problem for days. We're not leaving. At least, not completely. Earth is prepared to offer you a mutual defense treaty. We'll help you rebuild your worlds and set up defenses. In return, you share your medical and scientific knowledge with us. Kella's eyes lit up. You would do that? Even though you barely know us? We know enough, Carter replied. We know you're peaceful people who are being murdered by bullies. That's all we need to know. The treaty negotiations took 2 weeks. During that time, human engineers worked alongside Zilani scientists to begin rebuilding the damaged worlds. The aliens were amazed by human efficiency and determination. In just a few days, the humans had cleared rubble, established refugee camps, and begun constructing new buildings. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was overseeing the construction of a new hospital when she met Dr. Zara, a Zilani physician who had survived the bombing of her city. Your medical knowledge is incredible, Amy said as they walked through the construction site. This hospital will be able to treat injuries that would kill a human patient. Dr. Zara smiled. And your construction methods are amazing. On our world, it would take months to build something like this. You have done it in days. That's what humans do, Amy replied. When we set our minds to something, we don't stop until it's finished, whether it's building hospitals or winning wars. While the rebuilding continued, Admiral Carter had another problem to deal with: the surviving Chronok prisoners. Over 3,000 alien warriors were being held on human ships, waiting to learn their fate. Carter decided to